Back in Glendale, Arizona to talk another story with Merlin Berg. This time we're going to learn about his adventures in Antarctica.
You want a story or a tale?
Yeah, there's a distinction. You guys got to learn that when you sit with old men, you got to discern between their long tails and their other wicked features. They don't always tell you the truth, do they?
Huh?
They tell you what they remember.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to know about Antarctica.
Oh,
we talked about the Berg.
Yeah.
Merlin Berg, iceberg.
Iceberg. Yeah.
Oh, we did that the last time.
They are compatible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell when did you go to Antarctica?
Oh boy, I can't remember the year exactly, but
it was winter. Summer?
Well, yeah, I was. Well, let me explain all that, how that works. I got a friend of mine I was actually living with at the time came home from a party and said he met this guy and he was looking for guys to hire to go to Antarctica. And so he gave me his contact, and I called him on Monday morning, and I was sitting in his office within 2 hours.
You wanted to go.
I wanted to go.
You went to Antarctica after you were a submariner.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yep.
So if you want to learn about him being a torpedo man stuck in those little, anyway, there's a link in the description.
That's another story.
Yeah, another tale.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
You know, growing up, Antarctica was one of my favorite subjects. My grandma would send National Geographic magazine as a Christmas present every year. Mm-hmm. And that was back in the 50s when there was a lot of activity, exploration going on in Antarctica. And I just loved to read the articles, and I said, boy, I want to go to Antarctica someday. Well, when opportunity knocks, you got to go.
So you just remind me, there's a saying that people call you really lucky, but it's actually when preparation meets opportunity, you call it luck. So you'd already been prepared.
Well,
right?
I mean, I was available.
Yeah, and in your head, you'd already been thinking about being there for a long time, right?
I wanted to, yeah. I made the trip, and
what do you mean you made the trip? You just go to the plane station and... Because that's not an easy thing getting there.
No, it's not. But back then, and it's changed today, but back then when I went, the U.S. Navy, we flew on U.S. Navy airplanes, and they provided all the aircraft.
Those really big prop things with skis, right?
Yeah. And so we flew I flew out of, I don't know where was it, up in San Francisco area anyway, military airport there. And then we flew to Christchurch, New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
And Christchurch is kind of the jumping off spot for American servicemen and scientists. You get all your winter gear and your winter coat and your boots and your insulated pants and so.
When you went down, was it summer or winter?
Well, it was considered summer because I went down in I think about November that year.
So the southern hemisphere's
it's
summer.
Yeah.
Right, it's the opposite of the northern. Okay.
Right, yeah,
but that's when the days are longer.
Yeah, right, and that's why. In Antarctica during the summer, the sun doesn't really go down. It dims slightly depending on the time during the summer, but it's not. It's definitely daylight 24/7. Well, anyway, you flew down to Christchurch, got all your winter gear packed and everything on these supplies that you needed there, and then you get several days later, you get on another airplane that actually took you down to McMurdo Bay in Antarctica. Now, McMurdo is the Navy had a long ice runway. I know it was probably 2-3 miles long. They could land wheeled aircraft on, and then right there, then you were right.
When you say ice, there's no pavement. It's just frozen ice. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was no asphalt. And then, if you were going to fly to any of the interior places like the South Pole, or you would get on a plane that had skis on it, C-130 with skis on it, and they would fly scientists and Navy crewmen and everybody, around the continent from there.
So, what in the world did you go down there for? It wasn't just to eat the food like the Submariner stuff, right?
No, that was good food, though.
Oh yeah, I heard. I heard they get sick and tired of lobster down there. Is what they get tired of. Send us some regular burgers.
Yeah. Especially the food is a kind of an interesting subject because, all winter long, planes don't come in. So when the first plane comes in the fall or fall of the summer, which is around Labor Day, boy, they bring in vegetables, and I'd tell you, you'd think everybody on that station was a vegetarian.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also thinking about the last plane out. Mommy, it's like a little kid at camp, right?
Well, the last plane out flies back over McMurdo, and then it flips its wings like that, so saying, "So long, you suckers."
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an interesting place to be in the wintertime. But that's the other part of my story. But anyway, what I did my first trip there is I drove a Tucker Snowcat, a big box style snowcat, and we had in the snowcat, I was the driver, mechanic, and we had some scientists that were studying seismology and glacial layers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we went out to Bert Station. Now, Bert Station is
how's that spelled? B-Y-R-D?
Yeah, after Admiral Berg, who was one of the early explorers in Antarctica. And it's kind of an interesting facility because it was dug out. They dug out a trench, a big deep trench, and then built these hoop, what do you call them? They're
Quonset huts
inside. And then they moved in some buildings that were warm, well insulated, and that's where people worked and lived. And so you were in this underground facility.
Rat's cave. What do they call it? Maze.
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
a maze under the ice, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, it was interesting. But I drove one of these Tucker Snowcats, and we went out on a traverse, and these guys, they kept blowing holes in the snow, and I kept driving them around, and it was fun.
You've made 2 trips to Antarctica.
Right.
So we're just talking about the first one, right?
Right. The second time I went down, I got a call from my former boss, the contractor for the National Science Foundation, and they said, "We got to get this guy out of Antarctica before the last plane leaves, and we want you to go down." And it just so happened the night before I had thought about where I was going with my life, and I wasn't getting the education that I wanted. I wanted to finish college, and I thought to myself, I ought to go back to Antarctica. I could save up all that money. And boom, the next morning I get a call from him. There was no question. That was
interesting.
I was on my way. Within 2 weeks I was in Antarctica again.
Wow.
And my job there was wintered over, stayed through, the last plane leaves. And
Okay, whoa. I get he just glosses over it. I wintered over. That's like going to the freaking Mars or the moon or something. You're like total darkness.
Yeah.
Total unbearable to be outside, right?
Well, you know, it's Antarctica's when it gets dark. It's kind of like, you know, it's like evening, early evening, and then nighttime. And it takes about, I don't know, a month or so to transition to that period.
Yeah.
And likewise, at the around Labor Day, it starts getting light again, and you can. It's a different situation, and it does take. You gotta be able to deal with that, and that's one of the challenges of getting people to stay the winter and so that they can.
You got to be able to get along with other people. You can't exactly
you gotta. Well,
bad Merlin, sit on an iceberg, send you outside. That's a death sentence, basically.
We had a lot of fun with the Navy guys. And
one of the lessons that you've learned?
Oh,
something young guys need to know.
Well, when you take off to Antarctica, you got to be willing to endure it, and it's a different lifestyle, and you got to be able to be flexible and be able to handle that isolation.
You make pretty good friendships.
Oh yeah,
Bond with
I have some really good friends that I made in Antarctica, and it's kind of it's a unique situation. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
One of the two people that put together the largest the massive online training classes on the internet. It's called Learning How to Learn. She's a gal that wintered over.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and so that goes to say here, spend the winter in Antarctica and develop a great character.
Yeah. Well, I might even know her. It's amazing people that you meet. And when I got back to the States after wintering over, I had applied to CalPoly at San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
And I of course immediately went up to CalPoly and started classes in early January. And that's what I wanted to do. The money that I made in Antarctica wintering over, and I made good money at the time, it paid for 3 years of college.
Yeah.
So it was definitely what I needed to get out of college, as a way to keep with the program and not do it, 1 or 2 classes at a time like I was doing.
Yeah. So you'd highly recommend it for other guys if they had a chance and interested to.
Yeah. Now I guess I haven't really kept up with it, but the Navy isn't involved in Antarctica any longer, and the National Science Foundation contracts with people like myself to do those things that the Navy did, or that the National Science Foundation did. So.
Another interesting tale from Merlin Berg, and lessons you can apply to your life. If you've got questions for Merlin, just subscribe at 360min.net. If you'd like to watch more videos of guys sharing their tales and long tales, just subscribe to this channel right below.